Hello everyone, Allie here, and welcome to the Gold Mine. Thank you for joining me here with another episode on Allie's Treasure Trove. Today we do have episode number 27 of our Great Ace Attorney Chronicles playthrough. Should be on episode in-game 2 on Daigyaku Tensei Bantu, Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. Should be in-game episode 2, Trial Part 3. Now, of course, we are moving into something a bit different here, but I'm still a little weirded out. Last time we ended off the episode, not only did we deduce somehow that Olive Green must be the true culprit here. I mean, I could see why she would do it. I'm just not following Ryunosuke's pattern of thought here when she'd have the time. Because, of course, she was unconscious from getting stabbed in the back from, I think, episode 3? Last game in game 1. So she was unconscious in recent times here, but I guess she could have set it up beforehand and, to figure out who was the person that caused her fiancé to die. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not against the idea that Olive Green did it, but I'm very curious to see how this actually plays out. But not only that, the save file also, as we ended off last episode, still said Trial Part 2, but it seems like we should be getting into Trial Part 3, so maybe there'll be another little save portion pretty quickly. But we're going to go through till the end of this episode here. So finishing up the memoirs of the Clouded Kokoro today here in this episode. So it is 23rd of February at 11:32 a.m. at the Old Bailey, of course, in the defendant's antechamber. So let's continue. Joyful, jubilant, jumping jacks! Alright, I didn't expect to have to start screaming in Soseki voice as soon as we got started. Oh, Mr. Natsume! I'm so pleased for you! Locum stood Mr. Naruto Esquire, and non-locum judicial assistant Ms. Miko Taba Esquires. Now, finally, at long last, there can be proof. Proof that I'm innocent, and proof that my tea is innocent. Good morning, my dear fellows. Oh, look who shows up to the party 2 hours late. Everyone's just busting in. Herlock Sholmes! May you drink my tepid tea and fall forever silent! I thought the tea was innocent. Oh, Mr. Sholmes, you came! How wonderful! Please save your derision. I know what you're all thinking. Good morning, he says, when it's very nearly time for luncheon. Your score is written clearly across your faces. Nobody said or thought anything of the sort. The truth is, I was determined that today would be the day. As sleep seduced me last night, I thought, tomorrow, for once, I shall not oversleep. I'll rise early and be present in court to support my companions. Such spirited determination has a beauty all of its own, does it not? Oh, yes! And then I began to muse on the subject. Why do people oversleep? I queried. Why, time after time, do they make the same foolish blunder? And the answer came to me at once. It's so delightfully simple. People oversleep because they sleep. Well, is that not an astute insight into the matter? Oh, yes. Don't fall for this. Upon which realization I attempted an experiment. I didn't sleep a wink all night. And the results? By first light, I was exhausted and began to be assailed by fits of drowsiness. So I went to sleep. Shocking. And so, the conclusion of last night's experiment is this. A good night's sleep is quite simply essential. Yes, I think most of us probably knew that already. What others presuppose, I prove by experimentation. That, my dear fellow, is the scientific method. Yes, and one more thing. Do you remember this? Yes, of course. It's the poison that Miss Green was about to drink at the hospital yesterday. Oh, you didn't manage to... It was a laborious task as the bottle was nearly empty, but such inconveniences do not hinder Sholmes. I managed to confirm that it contained strychnine. So I was right. Perhaps, though of course such circumstantial evidence doesn't prove Miss Green's guilt. How would you even know? How would this man even know that we accused Miss Green if he wasn't even here? Plot holes. And he's probably in the audience. He probably snuck in late or something. And I shall leave the bottle in your care now, but licking the inside of the neck is not recommended. Who will this be? Could I have a word? No, it was this Gregson. I think this is Gregson, and then Gregson, that doesn't sound like something Gregson would say. Oh, can I have a word?
Gregson, how good of you to come.
Forget it, excuse me. Wait a minute, Inspector. Slide back in here. I, don't wish to make a nuisance of myself. From the look on your face, I'd say it's someone else you think is making a nuisance of himself.
My dear Inspector, please, speak freely. Pretend that I'm not here.
Easier said than done. Believe me, if I could do that, life would be a whole lot simpler for me. Do you have the results, Inspector, of the investigation in Mr. Shamspeare's room? Not yet. Shouldn't be long now, though. No, I'm here about something else. That dead convict, actually. Oh, you mean the man from this newspaper article we discovered yesterday in Mr. Shamspeare's room? A man by the name of, yes, Selden. I went through the archives at the yard and dug out the fellow's file. There's something in there that, well, it caught my eye. Something caught your eye? What, Inspector, what? I've copied out relevant parts for you, so you can read it for yourselves. Thank you. Selden's son, William Shamspeare. That's my prediction, I don't know. Anyways, entered into the court record. Let's look at it. I want to look at it. These documents. Witnessed only by a cellmate. Maybe Shamspeare is the cellmate. Wonder if he told the cellmate where the... Bet you Shamspeare is the cellmate, and he told him where the treasure was, and it's in the room. These documents include the details that were in the newspaper cutting we found in Mr. Shamspeare's room. I'll rearrange everything in the court records so we don't have duplicate information. Susanto's throwing away evidence. No! Why are you giving us a copy of this important file, though? Well, you're the ones who turned up the clue in the first place, aren't you? And I'm just making sure things get handled in the proper fashion. Oh, Scotland Yard's workings are so wonderful.
Indeed, my dear fellows, and the inspector here is a shining diamond in its crown.
A shining diamond in the rough, maybe. Look, I just don't want to be beholden to a lawyer, that's all. Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court proceedings are about to resume. Make your way into the courtroom at once.
Well, I shall leave you then. And I'll be listening with interest from the public gallery. Not nodding off at all, certainly not.
Thank you, Mr. Sholmes.
I'm rather tired, of seeing Mr. Mustache in floods of tears, personally, so the best of luck to you.
Look up soon, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire!
Yes, Mr. Natsume?
It's time, isn't it?
Yes, this is it. Miss Olive Green and Mr. William Shamspeare. This is going to be the final battle. I won't really have saved Soseki-san until I've exposed the whole truth of everything that's been going on. But it's all coming to a head now. You can do it, Ryunosuke. You have to. This might be the transition into Trial Part 3 officially. It seems like it would be. Alright, so it's now 12:30. Court is back in session. Hello, Mr. Vampire. How are you today?
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again now. Before the recess, we have heard a most startling accusation from the defense. Namely, that the victim of the case we heard here only a few days ago is the true perpetrator of this incident.
A reckless, rash, and prejudiced charge of wrongdoing, in my opinion, my lord. Oh, you want to talk about people being prejudiced, huh? Huh? However, the the prosecution has tried to extend every courtesy to this amateur newcomer from dubious eastern shores. Thank you for that backhanded consideration.
A rather cold assessment from the Honourable British Prosecutor, I must say. So, Lord Van Zeeks, is the new witness present and ready to take the stand?
Ready and waiting in the witness's antechamber, my lord.
Very well. Bailiff, bring the witnesses in.
Oh my god. I hate his face so much. Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court, please.
William Shamspeare, my liege. For mine occupation, I can say only that I be a tragic victim, to be pitied.
Currently unemployed, in other words.
I'm Olive Green, a fledgling artist. Well, no. Not a fledgling, really. A hopeless failure who's too weak-spirited to admit she has no talent, I suppose.
Also currently unemployed, in other words. What a coterie.
Mr. Shamspeare.
My lord, I am thy humble servant.
I am afraid that you are no longer merely the victim in this affair. The possibility has been raised that you are in fact the assailant, intent on taking the life of your fellow lodger. The part you have played in this whole business will be thoroughly scrutinized, I assure you.
I would for naught else, my lord, listen to this harp in the background music every time I speak. That means I'm so innocent.
And Miss Green?
Yes?
You are aware of the reason you've been summoned to this courtroom today, I presume?
Yes, the officer did explain. He said I poisoned this ridiculous buffoon.
And? Do you accept the charge, Miss Green? It'd be real easy if you did.
I don't know anything about any poisoning. And I don't know anything about this man.
Oh? Yeah, 100% he was trying to kill Miss Green before. And pin it on Natsume to get Natsume out of the room. I don't trust this dude. I hate this guy, dude. I hate this guy. Look at him. Look at him. I'm too lazy to bring up the fist PNG. But anyways,
come, lady, die to live. Verily, I know that thy prickly pea-pigmented personage.
Very well, let us proceed with this matter at hand. That being to ascertain whether or not Miss Green has any involvement in this affair.
It's all very strange indeed. Why would you suspect me? I barely ever go to the East End anyway. It so happens that I passed by that neighborhood 6 days ago, that's all. And on the night that this man was poisoned, I was still in the hospital fighting for my life.
yes, having been unfortunately caught up in the incident on the street outside the Garadib household. An incident that rendered you unconscious for some 3 days.
I was struck in the middle of my back by a knife, through no fault of my own, and now I'm under suspicion? What other irrelevant things must I be suspected of? It's all very disturbing.
Your energies may be better spent worrying about random knife attacks, I feel, Miss Green.
At this point in time, all that appears to connect you with Mr. Shamspeare's lodging is the Briar Road incident 6 days ago. That's why we would like you to testify formally now about exactly what happened.
Oh no! The incident 6 days ago? You mean you want me to relive that awful accident?
Unfortunately, yes. Please tell the court what happened that day. And of course, we will be interested to hear from you about your movements that day too, Mr. Shamspeare.
Eh? But what happened 6 days ago has nothing to do with me being poisoned. Verily.
I love doing his voice, but oh my goodness. It's like, you know when you hate a character so much that you're like, this character is secretly actually great. And I don't like it. I don't like that I like him, so I'm just gonna keep saying how much I hate Shamspeare. Anyways,
Let us proceed then.
agreed, Judge, agreed.
The witnesses will present the formal testimony to the court. On the subject of the incident that took place on Briar Road, the evening of the 17th of February.
It was 6 days ago, about 5 p.m. I was walking along in the snow when I suddenly stabbed in the back.
Why was that so hard to read?
Coincidentally, it happened to be just outside the house where the men in this case have their lodgings. I was at the tavern on the eve of which thou speakst, for I had bespoke my supper. It was the first time I'd been in the area. I had a little matter to attend to, that's all.
Lies!
Anyway, I was admitted straight to the hospital, so I knew nothing about all of this business.
Yes, the second incident inside a week at what I believe to be aptly described as the Haunted Lodgings. One can only presume this is a most unfortunate coincidence.
Meanwhile, you say you were not in your room, Mr. Shamspeare.
'Twas the following morn when I did awaken that I learned of the dire events. Mary, what a commotion did the officers of the law make on the floor above mine.
When Soseki-san was arrested on suspicion of attempted murder. As suspected, there is nothing connecting these two witnesses but happenstance. It's true, it does seem as though they're unrelated at first glance, but I'm not so sure. There is something lurking in the shadows here. I feel certain of it. And this is my one and only chance to expose it.
Counsel, you may now cross-examine these two witnesses if you wish.
Yes, my lord. But before we get into that, though, Susato rearranged our evidence. Alright, what'd Susato do here? I don't know why we still have this receipt. Alright, the street map, the soap, the teacups, that thingy is important. The photograph, medical report, the meter. Yeah. I want to investigate this. Is there anything to click on? Anything? No. I feel like that's some parts I keep getting hung up in this game because I don't click on stuff. Alright. I'm thinking Shamspeare here was the cellmate. He just kind of popped out of nowhere. Just press everything. When in doubt, just press. Even though I think I could present the photograph of Duncan on the second statement. I'm well acquainted with that case. I'm sorry I had to go through that.
It was awful. I still can't believe I was unconscious for so long. And I woke up to find that the case had been solved and the culprit arrested.
Yes, the incident has been resolved already. Perhaps it would help you to consider it a bad dream that ended with your awakening, and should now be forgotten.
Yes, I suppose so. Thank you.
But before you put it completely behind you, Miss Green, I need you to remember the details one last time. You must tell the court exactly what happened that day for us to arrive at the truth about this new case.
The trouble is, there's nothing to tell, really. I was just walking along the pavement.
Alright, let's press.
Hold it!
What were you doing there that day, though?
What do you mean?
The art school you attend, what's it called?
Ah, yes. It's the Thorndike Academy of Fine Arts. According to Mr. Sholmes, that's just in the vicinity of Brixton Road, which is some 10 stops away from the scene on the Underground.
And I believe you mentioned before that you also live on Brixton Road, isn't that right? So why then would you have been walking along Briar Road in the middle of the East End?
Well, it's because, oh yes, of course. I thought it might make a nice picture.
The witness is a student of art. City-dwelling artists can't all paint grand urban vistas.
That's right. I happen to like the crumbling look of that part of town. Perhaps quaint would have been a less grating term.
And the point is, she's definitely hiding something.
Yes, it seems she's not going to be forthcoming with the truth.
And if she's trying to hide why she was there that evening, It must mean there's a reason for her not wanting us to know. That's the key to this. And you, Mr. Shamspeare, on the evening of the incident 6 days ago, would you tell the court what exactly you were doing?
'Twould be my pleasure, sire. Verily, I was at the tavern on the eve of which thou speakst, for I had bespoke my supper.
Hold it!
A tavern, you say? Which one?
'Twas the Slug and Salad where I did tarry. 'Tis a jewel in the East End.
And a little unexpected, I feel. What do you mean, Lord Van Zeeks? The Slug and Salad offers unusually fine dining, for the locality at least. Not an establishment you'd expect to be patronized by a man with not even a crumb of bread in his room.
It's true. The menu lists premium crusts of bread and glasses of water in different levels of cloudiness.
And I would have expected Grubb's grubbery in the local vicinity to be more appropriate for your means. Watery soup and mushy peas, or rather, soupy water and pea-like mush. All equally appetizing. Now I'm hungry.
I just wanted to try some water in a different pub for once. What's wrong with that?
How different can water really be? Oh, Ryunosuke, bottled water tastes different. Oh, would you like to know, Ryunosuke?
Or perhaps there's a more plausible explanation. A specific reason why he had to go to that particular establishment.
Agreed. And the fact that on that day of all days, he dined at a place he wouldn't normally, it does stand out. So Mr. Shamspeare's own actions on the day of the incident 6 days ago were slightly suspicious. And I wonder if we have some evidence that it can explain those actions. Alright, I don't think we have it at the moment because we don't have that letter. So I think Green will have the letter and then we'll produce it here. Not at the moment. And I wish we did, but sadly I can't think of anything at the moment.
If we find a clue that could explain why Mr. Shamspeare went there, we must present it to the court.
Yes, absolutely. But Susato, we have to have it first.
If that is all on this matter, Counsel, I want to ask Miss Green to reiterate her next statement.
Hold it!
What little matter, Miss Green? Please elaborate.
It was nothing, really. It's not worth mentioning.
If you remember, you mentioned it to us yesterday at the hospital. It was related to the card you were holding. Miss Green! What was that? She clearly just hid something behind her back. From memory, I believe the card contained a note that read, "I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross."
What does that matter? This has nothing to do with Duncan.
Oh, you got something to say? Boy, excuse me? Mr. Shamspeare, do you have something to share with the court?
Verily, I do not. To be or not to be, that is the question. Pray forgive me. The great bard's words springeth from within me with ne'er a thought.
Don't tell me. It's because you're possessed by Shakespeare's spirit, right? Hearing Miss Green's words a moment ago seemed to make you think of something. Something of relevance, perhaps?
Well, nay, sire, 'twas nothing at all.
Presumably you know the name, though. Mr. Duncan Ross, I mean. After all, you were both lodgers in the same house.
I would it were so, but sadly nay. Lodging be a lonely occupation, sire. My lodging fellows be rarely known to me.
So you haven't heard of him, even though he passed away in the room just one floor above yours?
Miss Green?
Me, my lord? Have I done something wrong?
The card that was mentioned before, containing the notes, do you have it upon your person?
I do, yes, but I don't need it anymore. In fact, I should throw it away, really.
before you dispose of it, the court will take it as evidence, please.
All right, sit. Sit. And of course, that's what links Mr. Shakespeare and Miss Green. It's Duncan Ross.
Now, continue with your testimony, please, Miss Green.
I just want to press. I like pressing. I like getting the extra info. Yes, you didn't regain consciousness until the day after the trial, did you? In the early hours.
Exactly. So how could I have had anything to do with it? And yet, you still haul me in here to court like this, honestly.
So at the time of the poisoning, the witness was unconscious in her hospital bed. Could there be a more airtight alibi, I ask you?
And yet, in spite of that, you claim that I was the culprit.
Well, yes.
But you certainly haven't produced any evidence to support your wild claim, have you? None at all.
There you have it. The good lady has yet to see evidence, my Nipponese friend. I'm working on it.
Counsel, I will point out here that the jury's next decision will be final.
We're really up against the wall here.
Oh, Mr. Nuttauto, you pursued Mr. Shakespeare wonderfully there.
It's worked out well, hasn't it? We have a new clue at last. All right, now I need to pull off a really insightful objection somewhere.
Well, as you've managed to expose this promising new angle, I wonder if you should perhaps try to develop that?
Ah, yes, of course. And yelling out objections isn't necessarily the best way to do that, I suppose. Was it this? No. It was here.
Hold it!
I have evidence. I have evidence.
Perhaps there's a more plausible explanation. A specific reason why you had to go to that particular establishment?
Agreed. The fact that on the day of all days, he dined at a place he wouldn't normally, it does stand out. So Mr. Shakespeare's own actions on the day of the incident 6 days ago were slightly suspicious. I wonder if we have some evidence that can explain those actions. We do. Mr. Shakespeare?
Yes, sire?
On the day in question, is it not the case that you visited the Slug and Salad, a place you don't normally patronize, for a very particular reason?
I don't know what you're talking about. Pray, if thou hast some purpose, speakst.
Very well, I will present the court with evidence. Evidence that explains why you had to be at the Slug and Salad that day, namely, this very suspicious note that you sent Olive Green.
Oh, good Horatio. There are more things in heaven and earth that are dreamt of in your philosophy.
Horatio?
I believe it's a line from Shakespeare's play Hamlet, Mr. Nuttauto.
Ah, come on, how's that not right? Be it a line from the great Shakespeare, from this Mr. Shakespeare, the message is the same. My learned Nipponese friend is wide of the mark. Come on! Hardly surprising given this witness's obtuse literary quotes.
I do wonder if there isn't perhaps some evidence that would explain why it was the Slug and Salad he visited.
Oh. No. Back to the court record.
Gladly I would thy bidding do, Horatio.
Oh my goodness, is it because I didn't investigate the envelope? I swear if it's because I didn't I even just said, oh, I keep punting because I don't investigate the items. Miss Green strikes me as the type to open correspondence more neatly than that. Ah.
What is it?
The way the envelope is stored, I'm almost sure I've seen that exact shape somewhere else.
Oh, you don't mean... Were you thinking of this piece of evidence, Mr. Naruto?
Exactly, that's it. Try to match them up. Look, it matches.
They go together perfectly. This torn off end of the envelope clearly belongs with this card.
All right. Zoom in. Hey, Susato, what's up?
Oh, Mr. Naruto, you really pursued him there. Good job. I don't know how we should continue.
Hold it!
All right, let's present that envelope again. Hopefully I didn't do something wrong.
Take that!
And I believe this card reveals the answer.
Good lord, Miss Green's card, you mean?
That's right, my lord. It reads, I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th. Don't tell anybody else about this letter or the meeting. It is a matter of utmost importance. Mr. Shamspeare, your actions on the afternoon of Miss Green's stabbing are exactly as described in this note. Personally, I find it hard to believe that's a coincidence. Don't you, Mr. Shamspeare?
Well... Excuse me? Can I say something?
Yes, Miss Green?
That card was delivered to me. It doesn't have anything to do with this, odd man, does it?
Well, you'd think so, yes, but it's hard to believe it's merely...
My lord, may I?
May you what, Miss Green?
And I'd like to make something very clear about that card.
Very well then, you may amend your testimony to include details about that particular note.
This note was delivered to me at my address. It's nothing to do with the odd man next to me here.
I would like to present the piece.
Objection!
That day before the incidents, exactly 1 week ago now, this note was delivered to your address. Upon carrying out the instructions in this note, you found yourself in hospital.
Yes, I did. It's terrible. Everything that's happened to me.
Yes, it is terrible. If it's all true, that is.
What do you mean?
Miss Green, have a look at this, please. It's the torn-off end of an envelope.
Oh, is it?
And it so happens that it fits together perfectly with the envelope of the note you received.
Where did you find that?
See, that's the thing. We found it in Mr. Shamspeare's room.
In my room?
Mr. Shamspeare, do you perhaps remember this note from somewhere? Well, your actions that afternoon follow the instructions in the note to the letter. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th. And so that's exactly where you went. Let me ask you again, Mr. Shamspeare. You already knew about this note, didn't you? And you, Miss Green?
What did I do?
As this torn-off end of the envelope proves, The note was originally Mr. Shamspeare's room. So how is it that it came to be in your possession?
I don't have the first idea. I'm just a fledgling artist after all.
Oh. She was in his room and stole it. When she was putting the poison on the pipe. You broke into Mr. Shamspeare's room and stole it. You did what? Sorry, thou hast what? You broke? I mean, thou were in my room? I like the cracks. What on earth do you want with me?
You killed Duncan.
It would seem that both witnesses need to testify again.
Miss Green?
Yes?
Whilst you have the court's sympathy, I'm sure, for the suffering you have endured in recent events, anyone found to be giving false testimony in a court of law will be duly punished. Please bear that in mind.
Yes, I know.
Very well then, witnesses. You'll give formal testimony again now. On the subject of this curious anomaly regarding the note Miss Green claims to have received.
The anomaly of the note.
I do remember now. 'Twas a week ago. Peradventure, that note was delivered unto me. On the day writ therein, I did tarry at a long hour at the Slug and Salad, yet nobody came. Thereafter, on the evening, I shared the company of the Japanese fellow. I did see the note had vanished. I don't know what you mean. You think I snuck into this man's room, do you? Why would I? I could point out the villain here, and as for that torn-off piece of the envelope, I don't know anything about it.
You now claim to have received this letter, do you, Mr. Shamspeare?
Faith, 'tis so, my lord. And I would swear to have set it upon the table in my humble lodgings. Yet, 'tis clear to me now that the rain is gone, that since I returned from the tavern that night, I have not laid eyes upon it.
Anytime they say it's clear now, I feel compelled. I can't stop myself.
Well, that being the case, young lady, it would appear that your testimony was...
A lie? Is that what you think? How unfair of you to think I'm the one lying.
I beg your pardon?
I'm just a fledgling artist, as I said. Not fledgling artists don't lie. That note was delivered to me at my address. Besides, we all know who the liar around here is.
If that's true, Miss Green, how do you explain the facts? This part of the envelope was, without question, found in Mr. Shamspeare's room.
I don't see why I should explain.
Sorry?
I'm a fledgling artist. My job here is just to say what happened, that's all. It's your job to give the explanations and the proofs. You, the fledgling lawyer.
And the fledgling will do his best. Evidently, my learned friend's cross-examination is our only hope of learning the truth.
Well, counsel?
I'm ready, my lord.
Very well, then. The defense will now proceed with the cross-examination of the witnesses.
You know what I should get for dinner? I should get steak and shake. Ever since they started talking about the restaurants, I've been hungry. I think I was hungry before, though, and I only realized it recently.
Miss Green clearly did break into Mr. Shamspeare's room. There can be no question of that. And that's how she acquired the note.
Yes, two facts that are starting to lead me to a possible explanation for all of this. So I guess Shamspeare wasn't trying to pin the murder on Miss Green. It appears that someone else was luring Shamspeare out, but who would it be? Maybe it is Popeye. I'm like, how is that guy innocent? He's so weird, and he has it out for Shamspeare. How is he innocent in all this? But maybe he was trying to kill him too. Who knows? And it's not a pretty one.
Hold it!
And can you shed any light on the contents of the note at all?
Nay, sire, 'tis as strange to me as a foreign tongue. even with a knowledge of literature as great as mine own, verily, 'tis impenetrable.
But Mr. Duncan Ross had lodgings in the same household as you. In effect, he was your neighbor, so surely you knew him, didn't you?
Alack, if the choice is betwixt I knew him and I knew him not, then 'tis with foreboding I had be forced to declare we were by some small measures acquainted.
Despite your claims, though, you followed the note's instructions and went to the Slug and Salad. Presumably that was nothing to do with your knowledge of literature.
Marry, naught will have the better of me, sire, save for the lure of curiosity. So 'tis true I was compelled by my own eager heart to betake myself to the tavern, and yet in the end, my curiosity was not satiated.
Hold it!
So even after waiting for an hour, nobody appeared?
Well, yes, sire, 'tis as thou say'st.
Really? You paused for a moment before you answered.
In truth, when thou asked whether nobody appeared, I did suddenly recall.
Really? Do you mean to tell the court that somebody did appear after all?
I was not alone that night at the Slug and Salad, my lord. No, 'tis returning to me now. I did treat my lips to almost clear water, and mine innards to a premium crust of bread. And all around me danced a great many companions.
What do you mean?
Flies, sire, flies.
Good lord!
In the name of Beelzebub, what were they? Fairies, perchance from a midsummer night's dream, come to taunt me?
I think they were just flies.
I can't help thinking that the flies ought to choose something more wholesome to buzz around. Is that wrong of me?
Hold it!
When exactly did you notice it had gone missing?
Such idle thoughts never occupy my mind. I am busied with greater ideas.
In other words, you didn't notice. Several days passed between your outing to the tavern and Mr. Natsume's visit to your room.
Yes, it would appear that the note disappeared sometime in that interval.
Such idle thoughts never occupy my mind. I am busy with greater ideas.
And yet during that time, Miss Green was comatose in the hospital, was she not? Clearly then, she could not have been stealing things from Mr. Shamspeare's room.
Yes. Yes, of course. It's all some sort of misunderstanding. Isn't it, Mr. Prosecutor, sir?
You have so far failed to give a satisfactory explanation as to how you came by the note. I am not here to advocate for your defense, madam. I won't tolerate inconsistencies in your story. Van Zeke's like, gosh darn it, woman. I'm just trying to crap all over that Japanese dude. You're making me look bad. Why is my Nipponese friend always have to pull some crap out of his butt and have it happen to be true? This is so unfair. That's what's going on in his brain right now. Like, I can't believe that the BS that comes out of this man's mouth is actually what actually happened. That makes no sense. How is this possible? This is ridiculous. This is Van Zeke's thoughts right now. We're in his brain. We're in there, up in there. Up in there. You would do well to remember that.
Oh, dearie me.
What's Lord Van Zeke's getting at? That he knows you're right, but he doesn't want you to be right.
I don't know what you mean.
Hold it!
It seems that this note was actually delivered to Mr. Shamspeare about 1 week ago.
Oh, does it?
But for some reason, it ended up in your possession. I can't think of any way that could have happened except for you breaking into Mr. Shamspeare's lodgings.
Objection!
But for what reason would the witness have done that? It's a good question. I won't deny that Miss Green's possession of the notes would appear to defy logic. However, until and unless her involvement in this case can be proven in some other way, any further pursuit of this note is meaningless.
Miss Green could only have come to be in possession of the note by stealing it from Mr. Shamspeare's room. And yet, There's no obvious reason why she'd have done such a thing.
What if there was some other reason she broke into his lodgings, though?
Yes, we should pursue that idea, Mr. Naruto.
We're close now. I can feel it. We're so close to a breakthrough.
Hold it!
So you don't want to tell the court the truth about the letter, is that it?
I'm a fledgling artist, remember? Artists are nearly always introverted characters. Introverted? Fee, this fledgling doth readily cast aspersions about my nature. Yet I am an angel, a seraph. Birds do harmonize with my song. The wind doth frolic on my wings. Oh pity, wherefore dost thou accuse one so pure of heart, ample woman? Pure of heart? I don't think so. Even a fledgling like me can see you're just a failure. Tragedy, thou shalt not know the true heart of an artist until thine instruction hereafter by death. Oh, the days, oh, the years, alas, to enlighten thee, thou must wait so long and in vain. Mr. Naruhodo, interject with some clever remark. This is your chance to shine.
I'm no Shakespearean actor, Miss Susanto. No, as far as I can tell, the only thing that's going to resolve this argument
is evidence, yes. It's clear that Miss Green did in fact break into Mr. Shakespeare's room, isn't it? And that's where she found this letter.
Yes, two more or less foregone conclusions that lead me to one terrifying conclusion.
Terrifying?
Yes, I'm afraid to say that the outcome of this cross-examination may well change how we look at this case completely. Why would I? Because you're trying to kill him. No, I pressed the wrong button.
Objection!
All right. Third time's the charm, everybody. We're going back for a third one. We're going for a thirdsies. May I present the poison? Alright, E. I gotta press E. E. As you trying to kill him.
Objection!
Yesterday at the hospital, we saw you with this bottle. And though the contents spilt during the course of our meeting, a small quantity remained. According to the defense's independent analysis, Mr. Sham's chemistry set, the liquid that was still in the bottle was identified as strychnine. What? Strychnine? The very same poison that afflicted Mr. Shamspeare. Miss Green, you broke into this man's lodgings for one reason and one reason alone. To cover the end of the pipe that feeds the gas lamp in Mr. Shamspeare's room with poison.
Can this be?
You broke into my room? It may seem incredible to the court, but from the remaining clues, there is only one logical conclusion that we can reach. The person who attempted to take Mr. Shamspeare's life with poison was you, Miss Olive Green.
Oh dear, oh dear. Oh, dearie. Me?
Order! Counsel, are you seriously suggesting this woman put poison on the end of the gas pipe with intent to kill?
Yes, my lord. There's no other way to explain the facts.
But if Miss Green did indeed set this odious trap 6 days ago, and the victim had put his mouth to the pipe that very evening as expected, the attempted murder would have happened 6 days ago, surely?
Well, that's a very good point. Perhaps not, my lord.
I beg your pardon?
There was a significant police presence in the area that evening on account of the incident on Briar Road. Local residents were being interviewed throughout the night as part of the ongoing inquiry. A circumspect criminal would likely have chosen not to carry out any wrongdoing at that time. Lord Van Zeeks, you know what I'm trying to say.
And of course, the following morning there was more activity at Mr. Shamspeare's address.
More activity? Ah, yes. You mean his fellow lodger, Mr. Natsume, being arrested on suspicion of murder?
That's right. And as the defense has already proposed, Mr. Shamspeare was meddling with the gas in the pipe for a very sinister reason himself, to cause the gas stove in Mr. Natsume's room to go out, thereby asphyxiating the occupant.
But once Mr. Natsume had been arrested, his room was under constant surveillance by the police. In the circumstances, Mr. Shamspeare had no reason to blow air into the gas pipe. His intended victim being in a prison cell. With the need to tamper with the gas removed, the poison lay on the pipe dormant.
And then, 3 days ago now, the situation changed again.
Right, Mr. Natsume's trial, which took place here at the Old Bailey, came to an end.
A trial in which the man stood accused of stabbing Miss Green in the back, but was duly acquitted.
That resulted in Mr. Natsume returning to his lodgings for the first time in 2 days. And that very night, his gas stove mysteriously went out and Mr. Shamspeare was mysteriously poisoned. In conclusion, the poison that was present on the mouth of the gas pipe had been put there in the victim's room some 4 days earlier. Get wrecked.
Mary!
With that new understanding, it becomes clear that this letter was all part of the plan.
What plan?
The court will recall that the note gave instructions to visit the Slug and Salad at 5 o'clock, and that the recipient should tell nobody else. The reason for those instructions are now clear. To ensure that the lodger would not be at home at the stated time.
Oh. To make sure I wasn't home?
Exactly. While you were out, Miss Green could safely slip into your room, knowing that she wouldn't be disturbed.
You mean to say that letter
Was written by Miss Green, yes. And in order to cover her tracks, she took it away with her when she left. Just after she smeared poison over the mouth of the gas pipe in your room. That makes a lot of sense. Why are there so many short people in this game that need boxes?
Order! Order! What do you have to say for yourself, witness?
Just who are you? Why did you try to kill me?
Miss Green's motive should be obvious. It's all tied up with someone whose name we've heard several times already during the course of this trial. So, that's what's behind all this.
You will share your apparent understanding with the court, please, counsel. Which person is behind this woman's motive for the attack on the victim's life?
Take that!
Duncan Ross?
That's right. Before the defendant, Mr. Natsume, took up residence in the lodgings of Mr. Garadev's, somebody else was renting the room. Mr. Duncan Ross. I knew I'd heard the name somewhere else. It was all over the papers a month ago, when the man died in strange circumstances at the Haunted Lodgings.
That does ring a vague. Of course, yes, I remember now. The young man they claimed was strangled by the convict's curse or some such.
Sadly, my lord, it wasn't a curse of any kind, nor was it an accident. The man died as a result of Mr. Shamspeare blowing into the gas pipe and causing gas to leak into the room. It was murder, plain and simple. Ah! Well, what do you know? The world is so unfair. Curses, curious stats, that's all people care about. If it's an interesting story, they want to know. It doesn't cross their minds that real people are involved. And once they're bored, just 1 month later, once the story's lost its appeal, everyone's forgotten them. You mean you? Duncan was... Mr. Ross was Miss Green's fiancé. Fiancé? You may not have known until now who Miss Green really is, Mr. Shamspeare. But she's known exactly who you are all along. Because you're her sworn enemy, the murderer who took the life of the man she was to marry. Marry? Miss Green, is it not the case that in order to exact revenge on Mr. Shamspear, you smeared poison over the end of the gas pipe?
This is all quite extraordinary. Am I correct in my understanding that you now accuse both parties, counsel? Each on different counts of murder?
Yes, my lord. That's correct.
Objection!
Inhaling so deeply, it appears that my fledgling learned friend has taken in a lungful of dubious gas that's causing his judgment to be clouded. What? Why would Mr. Shamspear have wanted to kill these lodgers, as you say? You have completely failed to provide a motive to substantiate your accusation against the man.
Yes, that's right, Mr. Reaper, my liege. I have been slighted. 'Tis lies, all lies. I deny every utterance.
Then you'll have to forgive me, Mr. Naruhodo, sir.
But I don't intend to admit to anything either.
Miss Green.
I'm sure you'll think I'm being very rude, but I'm not going to be sent to the gallows for the likes of this scoundrel.
Objection!
But you broke into the man's room. And if you didn't do it to smear poison on the pipe, what was your reason?
I thought I'd have a look around, that's all.
Sorry.
You're right, I suspected him. So I thought perhaps I might find some evidence or something in his room. Evidence that it was him who took Duncan's life. Oh vileness, oh villainy, oh tyranny, oh rotundity of woman! But in any case, whenever I leave my room, I do turn the key in the lock. That whole place is falling apart. The locks and the doors are no different. Duncan showed me once how to unlock the door with some terps and a piece of wire. Oh awfulness, oh artfulness, oh tyranny, oh profanity of woman!
We will consider your trespassing on some future occasion, but for now, tell the court what you found, what evidence your search revealed.
Well, I spotted the note that I'd sent to him lying on the floor. When I went to pick it up, I noticed something. One of the floorboards was loose, and underneath it I discovered a secret hiding place.
Eh? Yes, we also discovered that hiding place.
Inside we found a newspaper cutting, a photograph, and an empty tin box. Yes, well, the thing is, when I found it, the box wasn't empty.
What? There was something inside it?
Yes. This rather nice key. Ah!
What are you doing with that? What the?
Every ounce of color is drained from his face.
Give it here! Give it to me now!
It's mine! I inherited it!
What was that, witness? What did you say? You inherited it?
No,
What's all this about? He inherited that key?
It was obviously important to you since you'd gone to such lengths to hide it, so I took it.
Get wrecked, Shamspear.
I don't know what it's for, but you took something precious from me, so I took something precious from you.
Got him, Miss Green, got him.
So what if it means you can't open something now? I don't care.
Give it back this minute! Give it to me!
Calm yourself, witness.
So Mr. Shamspear has tried, and in one case succeeded, to take the life of 2 lodgers now. Yes, his motive for doing so is the key to everything that's happened. And it's true that there appears to be no motive to support the accusation against Mr. Shamspear, at first. But considering everything we now know, I think there is actually something that could explain it. What? What? I need to recall every piece of evidence at our disposal, everything we've seen and heard. Because I'm sure that I just caught a glimpse of the link that runs through all of these events.
In that case, counsel, I must demand that you present evidence to the court in support of your claim. What is that you say can explain the motivation for Mr. Shakespeare's alleged crimes?
Take that!
That's an official police report, is it not?
The Selden file? How did you get a hold of that?
Selden?
The now sadly deceased Mr. Ross and the defendant Mr. Natsume have only one thing linking them. The fact that they had lodgings in the same room.
Well, yes, we know this, certainly.
In a room that was formerly occupied by Selden. Until, that is, he was arrested by Scotland Yard for his involvement in multiple burglaries.
I see.
And it so happens that the convict Selden left behind one very substantial mystery when he died. The sum £1,000 worth of loot that he stole, which as yet remains to be found.
Ah, yes, of course, it's coming back to me now. It's written in his file here.
And £1,000 lost en route to hell. That was how the papers summed it up. And it seems that one particular fellow inmate was with the convict in his final moments. It's not hard to imagine Selden entrusting that inmate with his most closely guarded secrets, the location of the stolen loot, and perhaps a key to unlock whatever container the valuables were in.
Ah, you mean this key is...
Mr. Shakespeare, it was you, wasn't it? You were at the capital offender's side when he died, were you not?
What are you talking about? 'Tis a false charge, I tell you, a false charge!
The name of the inmate who was with Selden at his death isn't noted in his file. But a simple telegram to the prison where he died would quickly tell us how false the charge really is.
But even if it's true, why would the man be so intent on killing every subsequent occupant of the convict's lodgings?
There's only one explanation for that, my lord. It was in that very room that Selden hid his loot. Manzy's like, you gotta be effing kidding me right now, dude. You've gotta be kidding me. This is some BS. I can't believe you've done this. Anyways, so it all comes out. Yes, and having established that, all of Mr. Shakespeare's subsequent actions start to make perfect sense. When he was let out of prison following Selden's death, he made immediately for Mr. Garadeb's lodgings in the hope of renting Selden's old room. However, the retired army man was able to offer him the accommodation of his choice. Because Selden's old room had already been let to somebody else, Mr. Duncan Ross. Which is why Mr. Shakespeare subsequently devised his gas-based plot to kill the occupants of the room. And when he was successful, he presumably intended to inquire about switching into the newly vacant room. However, a certain jittery someone had beaten him to it.
Mr. Soseki Natsume, the defendant of this case, no less.
So you decided to use the ploy with the gas again, didn't you, Mr. Shakespeare? This time to oust Mr. Natsume. All for one simple and a very avaricious reason. To get your hands on the 1,000 pounds of loot left behind by the dead convict.
Looks like I'm gonna snuff it before they get it.
Oh, looks like I'm gonna snuff it before they stretch me neck. Listen, I want you to have me loot. Anything to stop the coppers getting it, getting their mitts on it. It's hidden in the room where I was lodging when they got me. Here, this is the key to it. Take it. Always stay one step ahead, mate. See you in hell, I guess. Shakespeare.
It's mine.
What did he just say?
It's mine. That loot is mine.
Mr. Shakespeare? It's all lies. I don't accept any of it. Why should I? After all, you don't have a shred of evidence. You can't prove I killed that fellow. Forsooth, I'm the victim here, remember? Isn't that right, ladies and gentlemen? If I don't admit to it, there's nothing you can do. You can't arrest me. For time being, anyway. Verily, you can't arrest the victim, can you? Isn't that right, ladies and gentlemen? I'm so close, I just need a few more hours. I swore to myself that I'd get my hands on it. And I can almost taste it now. Do you really think I'd just give up? There's no question in my mind now. This man is guilty through and through. But he seems so utterly intoxicated by the idea of that loot. I'm afraid that, however hard you press him, he'll never admit to what he's done, Mr. Naruto. Well, that's fine, Susato, because we got the jury, so it doesn't matter. Value. There is a way. Pardon? There's one way I can finish him. Mortal Kombat style. No! He's already committed the most heinous crimes to get his hands on that loot. Which means all we need to do is find it first. A fine plan. Were it not for the fact that the police thoroughly searched the room following the death of Mr. Ross. If it's there at all, must be very well hidden indeed.
Without conclusive evidence, I certainly cannot rule.
If only there was some way we could find the convict's loot quickly.
This is the final piece in this complex puzzle. But I think we might have it in our possession already. Or rather, I think we may have something that can help us find where the loot is hidden. My lord!
Yes, counsel?
The defense would like to make a proposal about how to find a late convict's hidden loot. I believe we're already in possession of something that could give us a clue as to its whereabouts. So he does the dance because he's just completely a nutcase. It's our last chance, so it has to be worth a gamble. Besides, we've used the same technique once already, and it definitely paid off then. Skin prints!
Very well then, counsel, let the court hear your idea. What do you propose we can use in order to locate the hiding place of the deceased convict's hole?
Take that!
If I'm not mistaken, those aren't Mr. Shamspeare's handprints on the wall of his lodgings.
That's right, my lord. Expose the result of the defense's independent investigation of the scene.
Based on a wonderful new discovery in the field of forensic science by the great detective, Mr. Sholmes.
A great detective? Is that some kind of a joke? Do you really think I'm going to be daunted by a man with such a ridiculous title? I should think the great bard ought to recognize such a title when he hears one, Mr. Shamspeare. Oh, darn it.
I should think the great bard should recognize such a title when he hears it, Mr. Shamspeare.
I thought we were going back into snap mode, but we actually just went into Sholmes mode. So he actually wasn't sleeping 100% of the time.
Perhaps we should compete for the honor of most ridiculous title.
Ah! 'Tis Herlock Sholmes himself! What are you doing here, great detective? Your usual haunts the filthy back streets of the capital, are they not?
Nah, Mr. Reaper, it's been too long. And I see your complexion has worsened since we last met.
Mr. Sholmes! He does know Lord Van Zeeks then. Well, enough to say something like that in any case.
Mr. Sholmes, though you may be heralded as a great detective by the population at large, that does not give you the right to come and go in that courtroom as you see fit.
If I may, my lord, Mr. Sholmes' newly developed scientific method has helped us to uncover vital clues in this case already.
Clues, you say?
I call them skin prints, my lord. My method identifies every location touched by an individual under scrutiny. It's the method by which we were able to ascertain this gentleman's gas pipe activities. You only need a small sample of something the individual has previously touched to make an indicator solution. In your case, sir, I used the teacup you had been holding. Elementary. So now, Mr. Naruhodo,
Ah, yes?
what am I to use as a sample to make the indicator solution this time?
Thank you for offering to help, Mr. Sholmes. When the convict was arrested, he was living in what is now Saseki-san's room. We need a sample to help locate Selden's loot that is hidden in his old room. What form will the sample take? Represent a person. We will need something of Selden's in order to create the indicator solution to find his loot. And then something the convict owns happens to be in the possession of somebody listed in the court record.
Upon my word, Mr. Naruhodo, your powers of reasoning appear to be on the up. So, which particular person do you have in mind? From whom can we obtain a possession of the late convict Selden to create an indicator solution?
Take that!
Miss Green.
Ah, me? What do you want with me?
The key around your neck, if you please.
Sorry.
That key belonged to Selden. There will be remnants of secretions from the man's skin on the surface that we can use.
Very true.
That is the sample we need. Using it, we can create the indicator solution required for Mr. Sholmes' skin print seeker. And find out exactly what Selden touched in the room that he used to rent.
Mr. Shamspear was one great to another, I assure you. And if the late convict's haul is hidden somewhere in his former lodgings, I shall uncover it with no more than 30 minutes.
Ah! So, Mr. Shamspear, the truth is well within our grasp now, and as such, you will never get your hands on Selden's stolen wealth. Ah! Ah!
In that case, I'll gladly let Mr. Sholmes have this key.
No! Give the key to me! The detectives shan't have it! It's over, Mr. Shamspear. No! No! You're out of options now. There's only one thing left for you to do. Admit your guilt!
Whoa. Oh, shameful spear! Oh, despair! Be thy name!
He just exploded. What the heck? I wonder what he was arrested for the first time.
I never intended to kill the man. I just wanted to drive him out of the room. That's all.
So you'd have time to find the convict's haul of stolen goods. Yet after you'd killed the young man, you still didn't move into the room.
I asked the landlord, of course. I pleaded with him, but he refused.
Why?
I was 3 months behind with the rent, for one thing.
Mr. Garadeb really has had a lot to put up with.
And he had the gas repair work done immediately afterwards, putting the room out of action for a while. And then this Japanese man swooped in at just the right moment to sign the new lease. Poor Mr. Natsume! What unfortunate timing! Then, 5 days ago, after the incident on Briar Road when the Japanese fellow got himself arrested, I thought I'd finally have my chance. But it wasn't to be.
No, the scene was sealed off and guarded by the police night and day.
And if I remember rightly, Mr. Sholmes spent the whole day in there reading books. I couldn't even enter the room, let alone search for the loot.
Which is why, on the day Mr. Natsume was acquitted and returned to his room, you once again tried your trick of blowing air into the gas pipe that feeds the stove in his room. Unbeknownst to you, however, that action would lead you into a deadly trap.
William Shamspear. How does it go? To be or not to be? That is the question.
From Shakespeare's Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 1.
Well, let me tell you, in your case, it's not to be. That is the answer. You deserve to die for what you've done. At first, I really did think it was just a terrible accident. I'll never forget our conversation the night before Duncan died.
The gas supply in my new lodgings are a complete disaster, you know, Olive. The gas
supply?
Yes, the stove always seems to go out in the middle of the night for some reason.
That's no joke.
They say it's the convict's curse.
Oh, Duncan, please, don't stay there. I don't care how cheap it is.
All right, then, if it's that important to you, I'll start looking for a new place.
There are spare rooms at my house. Why don't you leave that horrible room tonight?
No, I'd better not. We said we'd wait until we graduated before we told our parents, remember?
But that was the last time we ever spoke. That very night, he fell victim to the gas. If only I'd known it was going to happen, I'd have insisted he left that horrible room that instant. But instead, all I've been left with is bitter regrets. And I stopped going to school. But something kept drawing me back to the house on Briar Road. And I saw a stooped Eastern-looking man with a mustache coming out of the house one day when I was there. He walked up the road to grub grubberies for some food, so I followed him. Then sat myself down next to him. He had some watery-looking soup and started to pick a quarrel with the publican.
That place is cursed, I tell you, cursed! The ghost of that convict who used to live there is trying to suffocate me! I wake up in the middle of the night, freezing to death because the stove has gone out. The room is full of gas and I can hardly breathe. But the pipes have been checked, no problem there. It's like, I'm the problem, that's what they're thinking.
But how could that be? Duncan was gone and now this man had almost suffered the same fate. Could it really be a curse? Then I remembered a rumor I'd heard about how the gas companies go around investigating the gas installations.
A rumor? You mean?
Yes, everybody's heard the stories, it seems, about how they go around checking the pipes.
How anything connected to the gas can be extinguished by blowing air into the pipework.
And that's when it started. A little flicker of doubt in the back of my mind that just wouldn't go away. Was it really an accident, though? Once I'd had the idea, it wouldn't leave me alone. It plagued me day and night. So I bought this at one of the black markets in the East End.
A black market?
I'd never been, I just heard people talk about them. And you really can buy anything you can think of there. In some ways, being able to get my hands on this so easily made me even more determined. I had to find out, one way or another. Was Duncan's death an accident, or was it murder?
And your chosen method for establishing the truth was simple, but highly effective. Smear poison on the gas pipe you suspected the man of tampering with, and wait. If Mr. Shamspear is innocent, nothing would come of what you've done. But if he was guilty, he would pay for his crimes dearly.
I found out the name of the man I suspected, William Shamspear. And then I wrote him this little note. I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th. Don't tell anybody else about this letter or the meeting. It is a matter of utmost importance. If he'd done it, I knew that he would worry enough so he'd be sure to go. So I waited to see if it worked.
And of course, Mr. Shamspear followed the instructions to the letter.
I worked out where the gas pipe was straight away, so I smeared a good amount of the poison I'd bought all around the mouth of the pipe. All the time praying that the devil's work wouldn't be done and that it was all just some wild fantasy. Actually, no. All the time praying that the devil's work would be done and that the culprit would get his just deserts.
3 days ago, when you were first stood in the dock before me, this whole affair seemed relatively straightforward. Yes, my lord! I certainly never imagined the depths of depravity that we should subsequently find lurking behind the scenes.
It has been a long road, my Nipponese friend. Oh, yes. And one I certainly didn't envisage walking with you.
Nevertheless, together we have reached the light at the end of the tunnel, as it were. Miss Green?
Yes, my lord?
You will henceforth be stripped of your freedom, as punishment for the attempted murder of Mr. William Shamspeare.
Yes, I know.
And you, Mr. Shamspeare, you will be tried for the murder of Mr. Duncan Ross in cold blood, and the subsequent attempted murder of Mr. Soseki Natsume here present.
Mr. Naruhodo?
Ah, yes?
Yesterday at the hospital, when you and your friend stopped me from
ending your life by drinking what was left in the poison bottle.
I wasn't myself. I can't even really remember what was going through my mind. To be or not to be, I suppose. That's a question that's so hard to answer, it seems.
Well, personally, I'm glad of your being here, Miss Green.
Oh,
And I'd like to believe that it's a blessing Mr. Shamspeare didn't die when he ingested the poison. For your sake, at the very least.
because of you, I chose life, not death. And now, you've made the truth come out at last. Really, I can't thank you enough. Oh, Miss Green!
Mr. Soseki Natsume! Yes, my lord! The court declares that you are exonerated from all blame in this matter. Accordingly, I would call upon the ladies and gentlemen of the jury present to present a verdict of not guilty.
We are in full agreement, my lord.
In that case, I hereby declare the defendant...
Woo! Not guilty, yay! Yas!
I want to see what the loot looks like. Sholmes promised us 30 minutes. 30 minutes to loot.
Court is adjourned.
All right, 3:24 p.m.
Oh, yes, yes, at last! Divine justice duly done!
Divine justice? My dear fellow, if there were any divine justice in this world, you would shave that mustache!
No, this has nothing to do with my mustache!
Some say that a luxuriant mustache is a sign of physical prowess, Mr. Sholmes.
Locum stune, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire! Once again, you've saved me from doom!
I'm very happy to have been able to help, Mr. Natsume. Congratulations on your acquittal. You're second in almost as many days.
I was first acquainted with and gained affection for English literature whilst in our great homeland empire. And then, by a twist of fate, I was brought to the land that bore the fruits of that literature. Only, the city of bricks and mortar became my prison. Try as I might, I never found my feet here. In the end, it didn't even matter. I confined myself to my room and lived life through friendly old books.
You've had such a difficult time, haven't you?
But a week ago now. I dragged you out of that dark and dingy room of yours, did I not?
You did. And I've seen more of life in this week than in all my years to date. And for the first time, I feel I've begun to see the true face of the English that's so far been hiding from me behind that wall of fog.
My dear fellow, there is nothing special about the true face of the English, as you put it. Wheresoever one goes in the world, humans are human. There are few genuine differences.
Yes, I think you're right. I finally started to see that, and I've come to understand something. I've worked out why I was attracted to English literature in the first place. It made me see that whatever our nationality, we humans all have the same hopes and fears. We're all just doing our best to live.
That's deep. Well said, I've come to feel the same way.
I've made a decision too. I'm going to cut short my study tour here and return to Japan.
What?
Just when we become friends here in England. What a terrible shame.
Oh, I know. That does tug at my heartstrings, it really does. But I've decided I'd like to take everything I've learned here in Britain and write something of my own. Novel of sorts, I suppose.
Oh my! So you'll be creating your own literature, Mr. Natsume? How wonderful!
Oh, well, no. I mean, I wouldn't presume to call it literature.
Why not, when that is precisely the definition, Mr. Mustache?
I suppose you're right, yes. It will, in a way, be literature. But as of now, all I know is that I'd like to try my hand at writing. I have no delusions of grandeur.
I, for one, would love to read your work.
Well, all things considered, it may be for the best. After all, you have once again emerged victorious from a battle with the Reaper.
That's very true.
And there is no salvation for a person in the dock when the Reaper is the prosecutor.
The desire to return post-haste to the perceived safety of your homeland is one I quite understand.
My goodness, yes, faced with such a terrifying prospect. Nobody would consider that cowardly, I'm quite sure.
But that's not why I'm leaving. I mean it.
Who objected on you? Alright, maybe that was his objection. Now is the case, we found ourselves embroiled in 6 months ago now. So Seki-san did indeed return to Japan and submitted a report about both cases to the government. It was on reading that report that Professor Mikotaba was prompted to visit the scholar. And barely any time later, Susato-san was given the news that she must return to Japan as well. On the back of a telegram stating falsely that her father had fallen gravely ill. The only possible explanation that comes to mind is what happened after the trial on the following day. The day that we uncovered the loot, hidden by the now deceased convict in his former lodgings. Ooh. Alright, so it's the next day on the 24th, 10:13 a.m.
Oh, well done, Mr. Sholmes! How simply marvelous of you to uncover the secret hiding place in just one day!
Wasn't it supposed to take 30 minutes?
As I believe I told you, my dear fellow, skin prints are extremely useful in such situations. Wouldn't you agree, Gregson?
Gregsy's been happily munching in agreement this whole time, you know, Hurley.
Happily? I think perhaps humorlessly might be closer to the truth.
So, it transpires that the man fashioned the hiding place in the ceiling.
And what's in it? What exactly is the loot?
Let us look then, if you're ready. Let's examine the late burglar's hole.
What is that? Is it a corpse? No. Maybe.
It looks to be some sort of neckband or collar.
A collar? It's huge, though. Look at all the gemstones set in it. I can see why it was claimed to be worth 1,000 pounds. Perhaps I could have it as a belt.
Oh, have you noticed on the inside there? There are some dark stains.
You don't think they could be blood, do you? I mean, there's quite a lot of it. On second thoughts, perhaps I won't have it as a belt.
Then, of course, there's this emblem here. A large letter B and a small crown.
What does it signify, do you think? Oh, I hadn't noticed that. I feel as though I've seen that emblem somewhere before, you know? Where could it have been?
That's enough of that, I think.
What? What's the matter with Mr. Sholmes? All the color is drained from his face.
Well, Inspector, I believe you ought to be taking this, aren't you? It could be valuable evidence after all. It must be kept safely under lock and key.
Ah, yes! Get your grubby hands off of that, you lot, and hand it over, now! B for Barack Van Zeeks. I'd never seen a collar that large before, and all those jewels certainly look to be extremely valuable. But that's not what stood out the most to me, at least not once I'd noticed it. Those dark marks on the inside of the collar, those stains, could they really have been blood? Well, that was a funny case, wasn't it? But it's all buttoned up now. And you look very pleased, Iris. I am, because I was starting to wonder what I could use as the basis of this month's story in the magazine. But this case will be perfect. It's been so fascinating. You're talking about the latest installment of the Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes, I presume. The mystery of the knife in the mist, and the mustached man and the convict's curse, perhaps. I could make it a two-part story.
Oh, I can't wait.
A word, please, Iris.
Yes, what is it, Hurley?
I'm sorry, but you can't write about this case. It's out of the question.
What? Why not? It's a great case.
Then I shall have to insist that you limit yourself to the first of your two titles. The second must never be written. Is that clear?
Yes.
And so it was that the second of Soseki-san's cases became buried in obscurity. Now, looking back, I feel I understand. I can see why Mr. Sholmes forbade Iris from publishing the story. It would take a little longer before I saw the link between everything that had happened and would happen. For it wasn't until 2 months after the arrival of Susato-san's letter that events began to unfurl again, with an incident that took place at the very heart of the eagerly awaited Great Exhibition of London.
Ooh, what's happened at the Great Exhibition, guys? We gotta find out! Ooh, we have unlocked the key of knowledge. Yes, please save. Investigation Part 4? That makes no sense. Alright, the return of the great departed soul. Investigation Part 1. Is someone getting resurrected? What the heck? Interesting. Interesting. I don't know what that means, but that sounds really cool. I was actually, interestingly enough, I saw someone ranking. Like, spoiler free, they just ranked all the 10 cases here in DGS1, DGS2. So game 1 and game 2 here for the Chronicles. And they ranked actually the first case and then this one actually pretty low. And I was like, I really like these. So I'm very excited to see what's coming up. They actually, I think they ranked case 5 here in this game as number 1 overall. So I'm like, ooh. Because for me, I really enjoyed this one. But if it just keeps getting better and better, that is something I'm super excited about. So, very interesting. I was thinking perhaps that Shamspear was trying to do something to Olive, but it turns out Olive was trying to get Shamspear out of the room. So that wasn't a twist that I necessarily foresaw. I did figure out that, of course, I think we all probably did, that Shamspear was trying to kill... I guess he wasn't trying to kill, but killed Ross, and then is trying to kill Soseki here to get access to the room to look for the treasure. So... is very, very crazy curse here, especially since it did seem straightforward that, you know, it was in the tea, and then it wasn't in the tea, it was on the pipe, and then how to get on the pipe, and then, you know, I definitely feel for Olive. And as Ryunosuke said, it's lucky that he didn't die, because she's not going to get executed now, right? Right? Because that's what was going to happen with Gina. Was going to get executed. But then Soseki-san last game wouldn't have gotten executed because, of course, Miss Green lived. So, if it's only attempted murder, you don't get sent to the gallows. So, because he lived, she won't get executed. So, that's good. It's like, I'm like, I get it, 100%. It's like, I'm trying to think, like, mentally, if I was in her situation. And, like, I don't know. You always see those things, and people tend to be like, well, that's people taking justice into their own hands. Or, like, when someone, like, hurts somebody's kid, and then the parents goes after them. It's like, people are like, yeah, it makes sense. It's like, yeah, it makes sense. Still illegal. It's like, you can't really do that, Olive, but, like, I feel you, Olive. I feel it. Definitely. Especially, you know, that Shamspeare's been doing it on purpose to get up there, and it's not like Shamspeare even really had any remorse about it. What was he in prison for the first time? That's a mystery I don't know that we're ever going to solve. I want to know what was he in there for. Was he already in there for murder? Is that why he's just like, well, I didn't mean to kill him, but he died anyways. And then this Japanese dude moved in, so I guess I'd try and kill him too to get him out. You know, I want my loot. So I'm really curious. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know in the comment section down below. If you were the writers of this game, what would you say Shamspeare was in prison for the first time? Because if he's in prison, if he's the cellmate of the Selden guy, you gotta think he's in there for something. Obviously, he wasn't on death's row like the other guy, which is a little odd. You know, just have this dude that's just gonna get let out in a few months, roommating it up in prison with a guy that's on death's row. It's a little weird. But, like, what was he in there for? It's gotta be for something pretty big. Probably some kind of theft as well. As we know, he likes to steal things. He likes to steal gas. Likes to steal lives. Likes to steal loot. So, very interesting. I did really enjoy this case. So let me know your thoughts on this case, your meme reasoning for what Shamspeare was in prison for, and just anything you have for me. Leave that down below. But that does wrap up episode number 27 here, I believe. So if you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to go on ahead and hit that like button. And of course, if you're not yet part of the Allie's Treasure Trove family, I'd love to have you with us. Make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Also, before I get on out of here, I do have to give a big shout out to all of my patrons over on Patreon. Thank you so much, you all, for your absolutely above and beyond supports. Really, truly do appreciate it. I am hoping to get out, for those of you who are Ultimate Excavators and Gemstone Miners, hoping to get out your August, you know, of course, now that it's a couple days into September, getting out your August perks out on Monday. So I'll give you guys updated on that if it comes a little late. It's just because I do have... while you guys are watching, so then on Friday. So this afternoon, I want, over on Titan Cards, I want to film the 2 Galaxy boxes of Star Wars and the Panini Black, and then I do want to go over to that convention in Tampa. I did buy the weekend pass. Fridays for VIP is only. I figured actually do any kind of, like, if I want to look for stuff, like actual shopping, be on Friday. And then I did say people come say hi to me. So I do want to go back on Saturday as well a little bit. Not sure if I'll be there on Sunday either, but my weekend is super, super busy. So... you know, of course, the Saturday night streams and things like that. We do have a full case of Galaxy for Sid Victa, so it'll probably be another long stream this Saturday. So I don't even know if I'm going to get to go hang out with Wander Franco on Sunday, but I never did manage to find. I checked so many places. I couldn't find anything online that would get it here on time. Never did find that Ronald Acuna Funko Pop that I wanted Ronald Acuna to sign on Saturday morning and put it on the shelf. So that's a little disappointing, but hey, you know what? Maybe someone at the con will have one. I wouldn't be surprised. You know, I feel like I used to see these baseball Funkos everywhere. They used to be everywhere because no one would buy them. I'd find them at Barnes & Nobles. I'd find them at Lid's Locker Room. I'd find it like at comic book stores, and no one would buy them. They sat there for years. Now that I need one, can't find it. Or maybe people see my cool Aaron Judge, Babe Ruth, my hockey ones, and I have an Ohtani somewhere, and they see it on the shelf, and they're like, you know, sports Funkos are cool. Let me buy them all. Maybe I started a movement. Who knows? Probably not. Not possible, but I can have my wild dreams. But anyways, I didn't actually give the shout out to all of the patrons, just talked about what I was going to do this weekend. But thank you so much to all of my patrons, like I did mention. We do have 4 Ultimate Excavators, Jack Perez, Keith Mita, Mako, and Stephen Olivo, 3 Gemstone Miners, Andon, Mark Mardini, and Stephen Bly, and 1 Crystal Collector of John Michek. But thank you so much to all of my patrons, whether you're on a tier in which I say your name at the end of every video or not. Really, really do still appreciate your guys' above and beyond support, so thank you very much for that. But yes, that will do it here for this one. Excited to get started on episode 3 next time, The Return of the Great Departed Soul. Definitely sounds very, very interesting. We know what's happening at the Great Exhibition. So this seems like it'll probably be a big deal. I am wondering what that crown, belt, collar, whatever that thing was all about. Looks like it was probably on somebody's neck, and they're like, you can't take it, and they're like, that's fine, I'll just cut your head off. That would be my prediction for it. That'd be my prediction for it. Like, why else do you have that much blood around the neck? I don't know. I don't know enough about, like, British history to be like, oh, there was a king or a queen whose name started with a B in, like, the late 1700s to early 1800s, and then this was the stolen crown that's been lost or something. I don't know. But it seems intense. So that'll wrap up this episode here, like I mentioned earlier. Really hope you guys enjoyed it. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll join me here next time as we start up a new mystery on Allie's Treasure Trove. I was like, what should I say? We just solved a mystery, so we'll start up a new one next time. So thank you for watching, everybody. Take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye!